Good morning, friends. Welcome back to the Say What podcast. My name is Hannah, and on this podcast, we like to talk about purity culture, marriage, family, sex, relationships, girly things. It's a really fun time here at the podcast, and welcome, especially if this is your first time listening. I've gotten some new listeners. I feel like I have not addressed my new listeners, so hello, friends. I'm so happy that you are here, and welcome. It's a good time here at the podcast. So I have an update from last week's episode. Last week I talked about how I've been on my sourdough bread journey, just like every other girl on the planet. Like, this is what I'm doing with my life, and let me tell you, I made sourdough bread from scratch. The girl who does not cook, who does not bake, who does not like do anything in the kitchen besides like 2 meals that I can make myself, I made sourdough bread. This is groundbreaking for our family. It was so good. And I came to the realization yesterday after making it that now I just have to like make it every day for the rest of my life. And let me tell you, that was a rude awakening. That was kind of a slap in the face. Like, I was not ready to start the sourdough journey, but the sourdough journey came to me and it was just like time to do it. And now I'm sitting here like thinking about my days and what days I'm home and trying to like arrange all of that around my sourdough. And that's tough. That's a tough one, not gonna lie to you. So it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be fine. We have a group that meets at our house from church for parents with kids under 5. So it's for married couples and their kids under 5. And we always do like highs and lows from the last week or two. And my high and my low was that I made sourdough bread because it took everything out of me. The mental stress that I exhibited when I was trying to do the timing of everything, because my sourdough takes about 12 hours to sit on the counter before it to become active, the starter does, and then it takes about 15 hours to ferment, and then it needs to go in the fridge. And so I'm having to do all this math. And I was even asking the robots. I was even asking ChatGPT to figure it out for me, and they couldn't even figure it out for me. So it has taken everything from me. And this is supposed to be fun. Making bread is supposed to be fun. Having a hobby is supposed to be fun, yet it took everything from me. So I made it once and I want to make it again. I'm having to hype myself up to do this again. And Thomas loves it. Tate loves it. Her dog loves my sourdough, which is so sad because I'm like, he is not taking my sourdough. Like, I worked too hard on this for my dog to have it. But I'm very excited. I'm very proud of myself that I did this. And I think I am going to do it again this weekend. But it really is a labor of love. Like, if someone brings you sourdough, you need to like worship the ground they walk on. Like, it is a labor of love and takes so much out of you. But I wanted to share that update for lots of reasons because it's happening. That's what's happening in my life, and this is my podcast, so I tell you what's happening in my life. And I just want to tell you, like, if you are wanting to try something new and you're scared and you're like worried about it being hard, like, you can do it. You can try new things. And trying a new hobby has been so fun. Like, I've gotten into my old hobbies, which is like doing a puzzle. Like, I love doing puzzles. I've been doing puzzles nonstop when Tate goes to bed, which has been so great and so just like fun and helps my mind just kind of like have a break because I stare at a computer all day long. I stare at Instagram all day long. One, because it's my job. Like, my day job is social media. And then my part-time job, this podcast, is also social media that I'm trying to become my full-time job. So it's like, it is something that I am looking at all day and thinking about is social media. And so getting to, in the evenings, just like veg out and have fun on like doing my little puzzle has been so fun. Thomas and I watched a movie the other night. Like, it has been really good to like get into hobbies. So I've been, getting back into hobbies that I once loved, which was puzzling. And I'm trying something new. And trying something new has been sourdough. And it's so rewarding to do something and then have an immediate result. Like, it feels really, really good. So that is very exciting. My other life update is that I am getting a haircut, which is crazy. Like, it's so crazy that I'm getting a haircut because in July, I cut my hair and it was, the worst thing that had ever happened to me. And I was like, I'm never getting a haircut again. Like, it's just gonna have to grow, and I'm never getting it cut again. But we are at the point where my hair is is not cut right to be able to style because I know how my hair works. My hair is really heavy and I do have to get regular haircuts for it to be healthy and to not be weighed down. And so I am just putting my brave girl pants on and I'm going to get a haircut. So we will see. I am terrified, but it's going to be fine. I'm just like taking deep breaths. I'm going to over communicate. Like, she's going to be sick of me. Like, I'm going to over communicate, which that's like, I don't want her to be sick of me. Like, I'm going to someone new. So like hoping that works out. But I've done my research. This girl like specializes in haircuts. We seem like we'd get along. We've got like similar interests, or that's what it says on her bio. You know, it's a salon I've been to before, which I do like this salon. So like I feel good about that. But it's not the salon that my hair got cut too short. But I'm feeling good about all the optics here. They all look really good. But I'm just going to say, like, I just want a dusting. I want as much length on my hair to stay. Like, I cannot express enough that I do not want a lot of hair cut. But I do want it styled, like cut and styled, if that makes sense. Like, I'm trying to get some curtain bangs. I'm trying to get some layers in there, but I just want the length to be as long as possible. And the other layers she can cut, like, I'm not worried about that. I'm just worried about the length. So thoughts and prayers for me, because when this episode comes out, I'll have not gotten it cut yet. So there is still time for you to pray that my hair doesn't get cut too short, which is so crazy. Like, I'm asking you to pray for my haircut. Like, that's wild. But also with hair, I did want to say that I never feel better than when my hair is slicked back, because it's out of my face. It's like not messing with me and it just feels so clean. But I also feel like so naked mole rat. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just slick back and, you know, is what it is. Girls don't understand. One other life update I want to talk about before we get into the advice is some insecurity I'm currently working through, and it is just not fun. My face has been breaking out so much. It's like I had perfect skin when I was pregnant, perfect skin when I was breastfeeding, and the minute I stopped breastfeeding and my period came back, my acne full force like came through. And I'm gonna be 30 years old this year. And I'm like, why am I 30 years old and I'm breaking out? Like, this is crazy. This is crazy. And I did like try a new product and that broke my face out, which was like not fun. Or I tried a product I've used before that I thought maybe was the cause of my breakouts. And I was like, well, I'm out of moisturizer. I don't want to buy a new one. And I already have some moisturizer here, so I should try it. And it was the Tula one. The Tula moisturizer broke my face out. So the expensive stuff is not always worth it. I do love a lot of Tula's products, but their moisturizer did break me out. And it like ended up giving me some acne scars. And that has just been so frustrating. It's just making me so insecure that I just keep like getting these breakouts. And a product that I have wanted to try for a long time is Lissy Skincare, her Mandelic serum. I have followed Lissy even before she had her skincare company, because she went to Susie school and I went to Susie school. So like, which is a business, or it doesn't exist anymore. It was a business school. So we both went to the same school. We were not there. We didn't do the same like weekend, but we both went. And so like I followed her for a while. I've always like really liked her stuff. I've been following her acne journey for a long time, and her products seem like they work, like they really do. And I've always like been for it before I saw the results, but it has been taking over TikTok. And so many people have said that it has helped their hormonal acne. So I'm really excited to try it. I'm sure there's like something that I'm eating or something I'm drinking or something I'm doing that's like causing the acne. I'm sure it's all the sugar that I ingest into my body, but I am also working on that. Like, I'm not going to drink sodas anymore. I got to give that up. Like, a Dr. Pepper and me are just like best friends, and like having to get rid of that is like heartbreaking, but I know that is also affecting my acne. So I'm going to do that. I've bought the Lissy skincare. I did purchase it off TikTok Shop, and that's terrifying. Like, something about TikTok Shop has been so scary to me. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about it, but I've just had this big like ick towards TikTok Shop, and here I am purchasing from it. But I'm just a girl who wants to save her money, and I had a coupon and it was cheaper on that than it was her website. So I did it. And who can say if I'm going to get this product? I think I will. I feel confident that if it doesn't come in, I can like message them and they'll help me out. But I'm sure it's going to come in. It's going to be fine. But I ordered it off TikTok Shop, and I'm really looking forward to seeing like how much it helps my skin, because I just am so like about these acne scars. Like, it is stressing me out so bad. I could literally cry talking about it. Like, that's kind of crazy, but that's how I'm feeling. So I'm just so sad that I am like dealing with these acne scars, and it's just making me really insecure, and that is just sucky. And I know that other girls go through this as well, so that's probably just why I'm sharing it. I don't have any like words of wisdom for you if you also have acne scars and are going through this, or dealing with acne. I just wanted you to know that I'm also going through that with you, and like I see you, and it sucks. It just sucks to be insecure. It just sucks. It's like you feel like everybody's looking at it, but I could almost promise you no one else is looking at it but you just like feel that pressure of like people looking at it and knowing that there's like breakouts are there. And I used to be someone who would not wear makeup often, like go out in public and not wear makeup and feel confident about it. But I have caught myself more and more like not wanting to go in public unless I have some makeup on. And I'm just like not trying to live that way. Like I want my kid, Tate, I want him to feel confident in his skin. Like if I have another kid, I want her, and it's a girl, like I want her to feel confident in her skin. But it's also for me, like I want to feel confident in my skin. So I am giving myself a pep talk that it's like gonna be okay, that there's so much more to me than my physical appearance. Like my physical appearance is the least like interesting thing about me. There's so many other things that are interesting about me that has nothing to do with what I look like. That is what I'm trying to tell myself, but I also can't like discount how my physical appearance affects how I feel about myself. So that is what I'm going through right now. I just wanted to share that with you because I know other girls experience this as well. So we will get through it, ladies, and I will definitely keep you guys updated on the Lissy Skincare Mandelic Serum, how it works for me, if it affects my acne. If you watch us on YouTube, you'll hopefully see in a couple weeks my super clear skin. I actually don't know how much like on the video you can see that I have breakouts, but I got breakouts. So we're going to be working on it. And yeah, those are all my updates for you. We have so many advice questions to go through, which was very exciting. I don't know if I'm going to be able to I can already tell you, I'm not going to be able to get to them all because then this episode would be 2 hours long and I can't talk for 2 hours. I got things to do. And my brain cannot probably talk for 2 hours. So let's get to these questions. Thank you guys so much for writing in. This is always anonymous. I don't know who you are, but I do love you. And I love that you guys think that my advice could be helpful to you. So that means a lot to me. And I'm coming to you with lots of love when I give you this advice. I'm coming to you with like big sister vibes, maybe telling you something you want to hear. And hopefully it sits right with you. But also like, I don't have all the answers. I don't know everything. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nurse. I'm not a pellet floor person. I am just a girl. So who has some life experience that I feel like I can share with you. So let's get into it. The first question is, I'm young and still live with my mom. My life feels kind of mundane. When people ask me how life is, it's like same old, same old. I'm just trying to fight the idea that I am stagnant. I do feel like I'm walking in God's purpose for me. I just feel like I'm not going as fast paced as I would like, which is okay. I guess I'm trying to fight the feeling of comparison or imposter syndrome when I look at my friends who are on a different path than I am, but are moving at what seems to be a more socially acceptable pace. So I know this is so hard, especially if you're like in your 20s. It's like, and grew up in church. It's like the church had this plan written out for you. Like you would graduate high school, go to college, your first, day at college, you would meet your spouse and you guys would date and then get married and then you'd have kids by 25. And it's like this plan for you. And so much of the church, like you grew up thinking that like your future husband is like all that you are, or your role as a future wife is all that your identity is like linked to. Like that's all that matters is that you become a wife one day. And our culture is very much like that. Like all that matters is that you become a wife one day or you have a career. And I'm so encouraged to hear you say that you feel like you are walking in God's purpose. It just may not be as like fast as you were hoping for. And I feel like in your write-in, like you kind of answered your own question because you're like, I feel stagnant. And then you say, but I do feel like I'm walking in God's purpose for me. And I think that is so incredible. The fact that you're walking in God's purpose is so good. And just because the world has this like written playbook that you have to follow through does not mean you have to follow through. And honestly, comparison is the thief of joy. And what I have found, honestly, is that the people that we compare ourselves to a lot of times are like not living the reality that we would even want to live. Like the people that we see on the internet who look happy, like their marriage may not be that happy, their life may not be happy. They may be really struggling with their kids, or they may be wishing that they had a different life and chose a different path. It's like when we compare ourselves to people, we just compare what we think their life is like, but we don't actually know. And we all have our own struggles too. And so I just know it's a thief of joy when we're not like focused on our path and what God has for us. And so what you've said in here is that like you are walking in God's path. But I just want to encourage you that when you feel like you are seeing other people go faster than you are, to look at your own life and see what things are moving for you. Like you say you're walking God's purpose. So what does that look like? And so when people ask about like what's going on in your life, you can share the thing that you're doing that's God's purpose for your life. And that's really exciting. But at the same time, like maybe it is time to like switch things up and like find something new, whether that be like a new hobby or a new like place that you like to go to, or if you like work from home, let's go to a new coffee shop. Like let's try to find new hobbies. I have really found so much joy in trying to find a new hobby, like honestly. And I think can really bring a lot of joy to your life. And your hobby could be trying out new coffee shops, going to like new places in town. So you're also like meeting other people. And, or it could be, learning to bake a sourdough bread and bringing it to your friends as gifts, or, getting into puzzling or embroidery or whatever, like, thing you've kind of slightly been interested in that maybe you've seen on the internet or seen other people do, like, why don't we try that? And that can just bring a new joy and a new like burst of energy to your life, which can be really fun and really helpful. But I just want to encourage you, like, God has not forgotten about you. Like, it feels like there's like push and pull of, what you see everybody else is doing, and you feel like that's the path you're supposed to be going down. But you also seems like you are content with where you are, because you said like it's okay that, it's not going as fast paced as you'd like. And so it kind of feels like maybe you are not as confident in the path that you're on right now. And so I want to encourage you to be confident in that. There's nothing wrong with you still living at home and being, with your mom, also because you said you're young. And there's also a real reality that we live in now, is that people cannot just afford to graduate college and move out, or be in college and live on their own. The price of living is insane. The cost of living is crazy. And so just being able to move out is not as easy as it once was. Like, the rent that I was paying, I cannot believe when I was in college that I was paying only like $780 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment. And I remember fighting with them when they were raising my rent. And so you can't find a 2-bedroom apartment for that price anymore. And so I just want to encourage you that like it's not as easy as it once was for people to just like not live at home anymore. So you're right where you need to be. Comparison is a thief of joy. And maybe we do find a new hobby to try to like spice things up a little bit. But you said you're young, so like you're doing great. You're doing great. Society likes to tell us what we're supposed to do, but if you are walking in God's path for you, that is what is most important. You got this. The next one. My husband and I have been co-sleeping our 1-year-old since he was born, so we have barely had much sex since then. That is very real. When there is a baby in your bed at night with you, it is like impossible to have sex because you're like, I can't do this right here. And so I totally understand that. I want to encourage you to find other times during the day or during your like weeks and days to have sex. That was a real like mind shift for me once we had a baby, was because usually like, okay, you go to work, you come home, you eat dinner, you go to bed, or like you hang out, go to bed, have sex. So like we always associate with sex with like nighttime, and having a baby has really had to adjust that for me, especially when you have a newborn and they're up all hours of the night. Like, you're not having sex at night. I have found if your schedule allows it and your work schedules allow it, like if you can try to find time to have sex during the day, that can be a real game changer, honestly. Or when your child is like having their first nap in the morning. I don't know if you co-sleep, so I don't know if they co-sleep with their naps as well. But if they're napping somewhere else, like I feel like you have to take the windows when they show up. And even if you're not in the mood at that moment, like let's say you put your kid down on Saturday morning at 9 o'clock for their first nap, and you're not necessarily like, you don't feel like you're in the mood, I want to encourage you to just try having sex with your spouse. And the more you guys like make out and start, then the arousal will probably follow. Like, women are not always like immediately in the mood by like looking at something, we don't have let me take that back. I do think there are women who are visually aroused. I also am visually aroused. Like, the idea that it's only men is crazy. But I do know, like, statistically for women, sometimes it takes a little bit longer to get aroused, and the act of actually like making out can get you to the arousal that you're looking for. So even if you're not like mentally like, oh, I'm in the mood, you're like, I'm not in the mood right now, I do think that just like attempting it, once you start doing it, it kind of is like, okay, I actually do like this. Like, I would always talk about how the first like year of a baby's life, I would really have to like rally to have sex, because I know it's important for our marriage. It's important for me. Like, that's how I felt connected to my spouse was, or that's one of the ways that I felt connected to Thomas, was us having sex. And so if I always waited for me to get in the mood to have sex, we would never have sex. And so it was like, okay, I'm just gonna like rally this energy. I'm gonna find it, and I'm gonna just like go have sex. Like, we can do this. And then once I'm actually like in the moment, I'm like, oh, okay, I do like this. This is fun. I'm ready. Let's go. And so I want to encourage you to try to find like whatever pocket you can outside of the nighttime to have sex. Try to like reframe your mind in that way. And you also might have to find a new location to have sex as well. Because if your baby's like sleeping in your bed, if you can like, actually, I don't know if that's like safe. I was going to say leave your baby in your bed while you go have sex in another room, but that's probably not safe sleep. We didn't co-sleep, so I don't know what that's like. But I want to encourage you to find like other times throughout the day to have sex. I do think that it is worth it. And speaking on the mood, I can jump down here because there was another question about being in the mood. She said, I have zero sex drive, like nothing, nada. We've been married for 8 years and I can count on one hand all the times I have actually been in the mood to get down. Is there anything I can do to fix this? Yes, yes, yes. When I first read this, my immediate thought was that you need to go get your like hormone levels checked, because if it's been 8 years that you guys have been married and you can count on one time the mood, like the times that you've been in the mood to have sex, that does make me think that there's something off with your like hormones and like maybe your like body like regulation or something. To me it feels like it's more something about that and less than like your other circumstances, because if you've never been in the mood, then I think there might be something else going on. I'm also wondering, like, are you on any SSRIs, because those can often affect your sex drive, and if you are, maybe we need to switch to a different one. I know that when I was on Zoloft, it was like sex drive, couldn't find her. She was non-existent, not even there. But I've heard that people who switch to other antidepressants have like had a better experience. And so I wonder if you're on that. But I do want to say, like, there is things you can do to fix this. And I would start with getting your, like, going to the doctor and like getting your stuff figured out, because that, or getting like your levels checked and stuff, because I do think there may be something more going on than just like you're too tired and too many things on your schedule. But I do also want to ask, like, we need to look at what your like day-to-day life looks like. Like, is there time in your day-to-day life for you to have sex, for you to be connecting with your spouse, for you to be like having those like flirty moments? Like, is your schedule so packed to where you're like barely seeing him and you like are too tired because you're handling so many things that like, you're too tired to even think about it? Like, we got to open up time in your schedule to allow the like arousal to happen, you know? Like, we got to have those emotional connecting moments with your spouse. We got to have him sharing the mental load. Just like I talked about last week, men can absolutely carry some of the mental load in your family. It is not just on the wife. Like, you guys can be equal partners. And so what is that like for you? If you are fully carrying the mental load of your home, fully taking care of your children if you have them, like, if you're doing all of that, it's like, well, of course you don't want to have sex because you're too tired, and there's no room in your mind to even think about that. There's no room in your life for that to happen. So we got to open up some space so you actually have room in your life to have sex. So I definitely recommend getting your hormones checked, and then we got to open up your schedule somehow to like have those like flirty moments with your spouse. And it's probably going to take some intentionality, to be honest, because like I said earlier, you may not be turned on just by the look of your spouse. Like, that may not happen for you immediately. If they like take off their shirt, you're not like, oh my God, I'd have sex with you right now. It may take some like a little bit of rallying of like, okay, once I actually start doing like making out, touching, like, okay, now I'm actually warming up to the idea of it, and now I'm in the mood. So sometimes it just takes a little bit of that like rally. And I'm not telling you to like, you know, not be like consensual with it. Like, if you're really in a bad space mentally, I'm not telling you like push through that. I'm just saying, like, if this is something that you are desiring and you want to happen, like, we have to sometimes like push through a little bit of the mental block of like, oh, I'm not in the mood, I don't have the drive for it, and see like, okay, well, what could happen if I just try? You know, what could happen if we just attempt it? So I want to encourage you with that. All right. Next question. I wrote in once before and I really appreciated your advice. Oh, thanks. I'm glad that you're back writing again. I've had diagnosed vaginismus for at least 5 years and spent close to 3 years in active weekly pelvic floor PT, and even had vaginal Botox treatment. None of it helped. I've read the books, followed and worked with sex therapists with different modalities, gynecologists, to no avail. I've got multiple doctors scratching their heads to figure me out. So I've stopped and haven't so much as touched my dilators or attempted sex with my husband. But now, 2 years later, I'm wondering where to go next. The only other option is a PASIC procedure. It will cost me about $6,000 to $7,000 plus several days off work and staying in another city. Is it worth it? I don't even enjoy oral or other intimacy and have zero sex drive, so I'm scared that it wouldn't fix anything. My husband would never leave me because I can't have sex, I don't think. But at some point, I'm keeping him from having what should be a really valuable part of his life, and that's hard for me to hold. So I was like, oh yay, love that you're writing again. But now I'm like sad that you're writing in again about this. I'm so sorry. I obviously don't know like what what you've written in before, what advice I gave before. But I do just want to say, like, I'm so sorry that you are going through this and that this is your experience. Reading your story, it just like breaks my heart, because I also know that it sounds like you really love your husband, and it also sounds like he loves you, like he's not going to go anywhere. And I know that that is something that you want to provide for your marriage and for your husband. Like, you want it to be something that you guys like enjoy and love, and you want to be able to give that to him. So I can just like feel your heart when writing this, and I just want you to know, like, you are not alone. I'm so sorry that this is what you're going through, but I still have faith and believe that you can be healed. And I'm so sure the last time you wrote in that I probably talked about my friend Jess, but I have to bring her up again because her story is seriously so similar to yours. And so I definitely recommend talking with her, because it feels like we probably need to try a different therapist, because at this point, like, the therapist that you saw for 3 years was like not the right therapist for you. And so maybe it takes some like working on the mental part of it. And I know that Jess does that a lot in her practice, and so, or her program, and the Mind Body Reset program. And I do have a discount for that, and so I can like link it. But even without the discount, like, I would have offered this anyway. I've been talking about it forever with Jess, but I definitely recommend talking with her, because this really does sound like her story. And if this is what I said last time, so sorry, but I do feel that way again. And I also have my friend Dr. Janelle. She is the vaginismus rehab coach on Instagram, and I also, hearing her stories of like the success that she has seen has been really incredible as well. And so I think everybody has like a person they lean more towards with like relating to in this area, and so that's why I like to talk about both of them, Dr. Janelle and Jess, because you might like relate better to one of them. And so I definitely recommend looking at those options. As far as this procedure, a PASIC procedure, I've never heard of that. And I have been in this space for a long time, and I've heard of the Botox, like I've heard of the numbing creams, like I know about all that, but this is something that I've actually never heard of. So just because I've never heard of it doesn't mean that it's not like worth doing. But just like in my 5 years of talking about this on the internet, this is the very first time I'm hearing about this. So that's very interesting to me, and makes me just like put a little bit of like, like, you know, just up, like kind of like raise, not a red flag, more of like a yellow flag. Like, is this something that's worked? What's the success story? I'm not really sure. And I can just feel your like desperation, like you want to heal this. And so you're trying all the options. And so I can't give you like medical advice to where you should or shouldn't try this, but I do think it's worth like talking to one of those other two women that I mentioned, because if you're going to devote the money to this procedure, I'm like wondering if you should devote it to like connecting one-on-one with somebody to help you see what they can do to help you like overcome this and get to that point. So I definitely recommend that. And I know that Jess and Dr. Janelle both have like communities within their programs. Like, you join like the group and get to talk to other people going through this as well, which is a big part of experiencing vaginismus, is knowing that you're not alone. So I definitely recommend those people, but don't give up hope. I have so much hope and faith that like this can be something that you heal from. And so I'm with you in this. We're not giving up. And I'm sorry my advice probably has not changed from when you wrote in before, but maybe Dr. Janelle is the person that like could help you. You know, I'm not giving up hope for this. And I think that is a good next start, or good next step for you. Or even maybe finding another pelvic floor therapist that you can try. Because if you've seen somebody for 3 years, it just makes me wonder, like, they were not the right fit for you. So, and you could also try acupuncture if you've not tried that. That was a huge part of my healing experience, was acupuncture, and I don't hear a lot of people talking about that because it like kind of resets your nervous system. So I would also recommend going to a holistic pelvic therapist if you can find one, but if not, just like going to an acupuncturist and talking about this with an acupuncturist could be really game changing for you as well. So I would try that, but you are not alone. The next question. My partner, dating relationship, says that physical touch is the best way to love him. I feel a bit stuck. He doesn't get convicted like I do with sexual touch, and I feel like I'm in sin when I'm doing the things that he says make him feel loved. He has been a Christian for 3 years, and I've been a Christian since I was 5 years old. Is this unequally yoked or going to be problematic for my future? Whew, this is tough, because when I read this, I'm like, okay, the physical touch, we all have love languages. We all, you know, have things that we do to make us feel loved. And if you're in a dating relationship and you are both Christians and you are both like abstaining until marriage to have sex, because that is what we are called to do as Christians, then yes, like feeling loved is in your love language is physical touch. Like that is hard, but that does not mean that if you are like doing things that you are uncomfortable with just to make him feel loved, like there are other ways to love him. Like hold hands, like have a back rub when you're like sitting on a chair, like hug, like you should not have to compromise on what you feel as you are comfortable with to make him feel loved. Like absolutely not. Like my red flags immediately go up with this because you should not have to do things that you feel convicted of to make him feel loved. He should be leading the relationship, leading you in that way. And if you are not comfortable with doing things that he says make him feel loved, like you do not need to be doing those things and you do not need to be with him. Like I am not somebody who always jumps to break up with your boyfriend. Like that is really not my like MO whenever I'm giving advice, because I just feel like you can work things out. But this like kind of made my red flags go up, honestly. Like, so I would question if there are other red flags in your relationship that maybe you've been ignoring, because if you are doing things that you feel convicted by to make him feel loved, like that is not a healthy relationship. That is not one that I feel like you should be in. And is this unequally yoked? I would say you just have different, if you're both Christians and like going for the both believe in God, like I wouldn't say that's necessarily like unequally yoked, but I do think that you need to be on the same page with this. Like honestly, like he's got to lead you in this way, because you also have to think about it like this. Like let's say you guys get married. I do think this could be problematic in your future, because when you guys get married and let's say you have a baby one day and you don't want to have sex because like you just had a baby, like is he gonna make you have sex with him? I'm not saying he's making you have sex with him, but is he gonna like make you feel pressured to have sex with him like when you don't want to, or even before you have kids on a random Thursday, if you're like going through something really hard and he's like expecting sex from you because that's how he feels loved, like is he going to be okay with you not wanting to do that? That's where my mind goes. And even if he's not, I think sometimes Christian guys and just guys in general can be really sneaky with the pressure that they put on you, because they're not like saying anything kind of crazy. It's more like emotionally manipulative and like comments here and there that make you feel guilty and make you feel like you have to do this. And especially if they're not stopping it. Like if you have said like my boundary is we will not make out without clothes on, and then like a shirt comes off and he's not stopping it, and then you're over here questioning like, okay, well, I feel like I'm in sin, but I know that this is how he feels loved and he's not stopping it, so it must be okay. But even if it's not okay, like I do love him, so like I want him to feel loved. So like it sounds like you are giving a lot of like caveats to like trying to think it's okay to keep doing this, and it is just not. It is just not. And it breaks my heart, because I really, really am not someone who's like, break up with your boyfriend. But you guys got to talk about this. Like, he cannot be making you feel like you have to do these things to make him feel loved. He can figure out other ways to feel loved. Like there are multiple ways to feel loved by somebody, and it shouldn't just be like you have to have sex with me. Like that's crazy, So I definitely think you guys need to talk about this, and you just need to take a big look at your relationship, 30,000 foot view. Are there red flags you've been ignoring? And let's just take some time to look into this a little bit deeper, because I do not want you to be sinning because he needs to feel loved. Like those two things do not go together. A man that loves you and wants to be with you and is like trying to, if you guys are Christians, and it's different when the attitude is like we're both trying really hard to, follow this boundary and we just like slipped up and got caught up in the moment. Like that is different to me than like he doesn't get convicted like I do with sexual touch, and I feel like I'm in sin when we're doing the things that he says make him feel loved. Like the wording of that is very different than like, oh, we were making out in the car and like we just slipped up and it went too far. Like that is different to me than what you are saying here. So let's take a 30,000 foot view of your relationship, look at some red flags, and let's just dig a little bit deeper into this, because I do think this could be problematic for your future, and I do think this is like an unhealthy relationship that you are in, and I am so sorry to be the one to break that to you. I know I don't know you and I don't know your relationship, but just from this little thing that I got written in, like I think that this is worth looking into, and I love you, and this is not the end. And if you end up breaking up with him, there are so many other men out there who will love you and respect your boundaries and set the boundaries for you, because he's leading you in your relationship as a Christian man should. So this is not the end. I mean this for like your life. Like if you end up breaking up with him, like this is not the end of your life. Like you are incredible just because of who you are, and there are other men out there. I promise. Let's go to the next question. I don't know what song that was. Okay. There's a guy at church who may or may not like me. I don't know. But my stress comes from the fact that he's already briefly dated someone in my friend group before. But I feel like I would be a second choice, and the opinions of other people and what they may think of me stress me out. And I don't know if I would be causing any emotional hurt to the girl he dated before. I like her and would like to not ruin any chances I have at a friendship with her. I can't figure out if I like this guy at all or if this is a huge turnoff for me and I'm more of a rational thinker than emotional. I've just been avoiding the whole situation, so I don't know what to do. Let me know what you think. Thanks. Okay, so I think that we are spiraling a little bit, my friend. I think we're spiraling a little bit because you said you don't even know if the guy likes you or not. So you're playing out all these scenarios in your mind of what could happen if he likes you or if he doesn't. So I feel like we just need to take a breather here for a second, and we first need to figure out if he likes you or not. Because if he doesn't like you, then all of this spiraling in your head is taking up too much space, and it wouldn't even matter because you guys aren't going to date. And so you're trying to figure out if you like him or not, and then all these other things are going in your head, and it's honestly is it worth it to go down this path because I don't want to hurt this girl that I'm really wanting to be friends with. And I think that if a guy, some people are supposed to be together, they're going to find their way back, and it's going to be fine. If you're meant to be, you'll find your way back to each other. I think that you are stressing out a lot about something that we don't even know is true or not. So we first got to figure out if he likes you, okay? Let's say he does like you. You said you don't even know if you like him or not. So let's also take some time to think about that. Does he have the values of somebody that you would want to be with? Are you attracted to him? Is he a good person? How has he treated other people that he's been with before? Take some time to think about if you really like him or not. And I know you also did say that you've been avoiding this, so maybe you're not spiraling. Maybe this is just the first time you thought about it in a while and you're writing in about it. So I do maybe take that back a little bit because you did say you've been avoiding it. So if you're avoiding something, you probably aren't spiraling about it. But I do think we need to figure out, number one, if he likes you or not, because I just don't want you to spend so much of your time in your head about this if he doesn't like you, and also if you like him or not, because if you don't like him, then it's simple, you're not going to date him and you get to be friends with this girl. But if you do like him, then I think, and you find out he likes you feel like you guys would be a good match, then it could be worth talking to this girl about it if this is somebody that you want to be friends with. All in all, I feel like you have almost talked yourself out of it because you said you'd feel like you're the second choice and you don't want to ruin a friendship with somebody. And so I would say that I would lean more towards you don't like this guy and it probably wouldn't be worth pursuing. And in this season, it may not be worth pursuing. And some time goes by, maybe that friend group, you're not friends with those people, or everybody kind of goes their separate ways or whatever, not an extreme fallout or anything, but just things could change and you guys could come back together and you could feel differently. So I think we should just take a step back, figure out if he likes you or not, and then go from there. But if he does like you, I feel like the way that you have written out about this kind of seems like you don't like him, so it probably would not be worth going after, because I don't want you to be questioning if you're the second choice, and I also don't want you to ruin the chance of being friends with somebody if this is somebody that you do want to be friends with. So let's figure out if he likes you and then go from there. Okay, the next one. I always love that we get birth control questions anytime I do this because I love talking about birth control. I want to get off birth control and try doing natural cycle tracking. I'm nervous about this because I don't want to get pregnant yet, and I'm nervous it might take my body a while to get back on track after being on birth control for a while. Looking for advice and tips. Also, if you have any reviews on the Oura Ring. So I'll first answer your last question. I do not have the Oura Ring, and I don't have really any of my close friends in my life that have one, so I haven't talked to other people. I do have a friend that I know wears it. I've been meaning to ask her about it because I also am very interested in the Oura Ring, and so I actually should ask her, and then I can give you guys some reviews. So I personally cannot help you with the Oura Ring review, but I am all for you getting off birth control. My life drastically got better when I got off hormonal birth control. The time in my life that I was taking hormonal birth control, that I was on the NuvaRing, it was exactly what I needed for that time. It truly was. But when I got off, I just felt like a brand new human. I felt so much better, and I will never go back to being on hormonal birth control. With that being said, we forget about condoms. I forgot condoms existed. That never crossed my mind. I think I just associated with condoms with hookup culture, which is not great. That's really horrible of me to say that, but I just never thought about oh, me, a married person, can use condoms. Shocker. And condoms really are your solution here. So I definitely recommend cycle tracking, because if you can know your body and know when you're ovulating, that is really helpful for you with like avoiding getting pregnant, because you can only get pregnant a certain amount of days every month. And so I recommend using condoms, because you can use condoms the entire month. And if you are wanting to be extra cautious, you could avoid sex the week that you're ovulating, which is hard because the week that you're ovulating is when your sex drive raises a lot, because your body is like, okay, time to procreate, like it's time to get pregnant. And so your sex drive naturally rises the week that you're ovulating. But if you can figure out when you're ovulating, that can be a game changer for you of trying to like avoid pregnancy. But using condoms in the meantime is fantastic. The Skin brand of condoms are the best one. I have used lots of different brands, and this one is the one that we love the most. We use them regularly. Like when we're having sex, that's what we use. And it's so great. You can use them with lube. There's no problem. They're like pretty affordable at Amazon. The Skin brand, I will link them in the episode notes for you, is fantastic. So I think that is your solution. If you're wanting to get off, but you are a little bit nervous about cycle tracking, you need to like get to know your body, figure out when you're ovulating, and use condoms. Condoms are great. And if your husband's like, I don't want to use condoms, like it doesn't feel good, grow up. He should be equally responsible for avoiding pregnancy. This is not 100% on you. It is also on him. If he is acting in part, like if he is part of having sex, then he should carry part of the responsibility of birth control. Sorry. So grow up. The condoms are fine. Like they're fine. The Skin brand, you can barely feel them. It doesn't really change much of you having sex, except for it takes 2 seconds to put a condom on. It's fine. It's fine. Sorry, that was pretty harsh, but like sometimes it just has to be said. Like these men have got to get over the condom use, like seriously, not wanting to do the condom. Like you're not using the right ones. Like you got to find the right one. But you can use condoms. And if you personally don't like condoms, then I'm going to say it very nicely to you. So I'm so sorry, but maybe you don't need to grow up because you're just a girl and I would never tell you to grow up like I would tell him. But you know, I didn't like condoms for a while because I felt like it irritated my vaginismus. But if you don't have any of that problem, then like just give them a shot. Find the right one that works for you. I'll tell you, when I'm ovulating, my discharge lets me know. That's all I'm going to say, because I'm not trying to give like all my personal details to the world. However, just check your discharge. There's so much good information out there that can help you figure out when you're ovulating. You can use ovulation strips if you want. That will tell you like when you're ovulating, and that can help you with like tracking your cycle. But if you can just figure that part out, I think you'll be good to go. So do that, and condoms. You got this. You can get off birth control. I got off birth control and then was pregnant 4 months later. So it's possible. It is totally possible. Okay, last question. I will try to answer the ones that I didn't get to on Instagram, so that way I'm at least answering your questions. But this is the last one we're going to finish on. I've been married for 2 years, and my husband and I waited to have sex for marriage, but have only finished during sex once. We do other stuff, but any advice for helping the girl finish during sex? We haven't tried toys or anything like that. I got you. So it is harder to finish during sex because like the act of like penetration does not always get us to the point of orgasm that we want to get to. Like it's a little bit different. Most girls that I know and just in general need like heavy clitoral stimulation to achieve an orgasm. And so we got to get you in certain sex positions that you can have like maximum amount of clitoral stimulation while he is like inside of you having sex. And that means that you're probably gonna have to be doing that to yourself. So if you're like a little uneasy or like feeling a little bit weird about doing that to yourself, like it's not masturbation. If you are doing it in the act of like having sex with your husband, like it is not masturbation. That is just how you guys are having sex and you're doing it together as like an enjoyable experience. It is not masturbation if that's like something that you are worried about. And so most of the time you're gonna have to do this yourself because your husband is like having sex with, you know, like he's penetrating and he can't necessarily get his hand where he needs to get it to be able to do that, and trying to like thrust while doing the clitoral stimulation is probably a lot for him to do at one time, if I'm being honest. So you're going to have to do this yourself, which look at that as like a fun experiment to figure out like what you like and what you enjoy. And it's like a great way for you guys to try new positions because you're going to need to be in a position that you can like reach yourself and touch yourself with. And so definitely recommend doing that. I think Old Faithful is always like laying on your stomach on a pillow using a vibrator. That is what you should try. You said you have not tried toys or anything. And so I am going to bring those up, of course, that using a vibrator can help so much. It's something that you both can enjoy together. You can get, there's the one that is like my tried and true favorite. I always go back to this one vibrator. I think right now it's like $7 on Amazon. So if you don't like it, you lost $7. Not a big deal. So I definitely recommend you trying that. And we got to get you in positions that you can have peak clitoral stimulation in. And I would say that before you guys have sex, you need to get you to a point where you are close. Because if sex is like like the actual like penetration part is a short amount of time, you need to already be like getting pretty close to there so you actually can finish like while it's happening. I will say I have found sometimes like, and other people I've talked to, when it is, if you do finish while you are actually having sex, like, and he's not done yet, it can feel like really like sensitive afterwards. So it almost is like more painful. So a lot of times I prefer to finish like afterwards because it's like painful. It's kind of weird. I don't really know how to explain it. And so, but if you are wanting to finish while you're having sex, I totally get it. And so we got to get you some clitoral stimulation while the act is happening, and that is going to have to be on you. So use your fingers, use a vibrator, whatever. But I definitely think it's worth a shot. And look at it as like a fun thing for you guys to like learn about you and your body and like how to enjoy sex. And if you're worried about becoming like reliant on the vibrator, like I don't think that's necessarily going to happen. Like I've talked to many girls who use a vibrator for fun, but they're not like reliant on it and can still have an orgasm outside of it. So like it's totally possible. Like it's not going to be something that you fully have to rely on. It just really elevates your experience and gets you to that place that you want to be. So there is my advice for that. So we're going to end on that today. Thank you guys so much for spending time with me on the podcast. Like I said, will hopefully answer your questions that I missed on Instagram. So be looking out on my stories for those. And thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I love you, friends, and we will talk soon. Bye.